12b. So in this chapter, we see some irregularities for the first aorist. First of all, we saw when we looked at the future tense, we saw that stems that ended in L, M, N, or R don't use that S in the future. Instead, they become E contract. In the first aorist, again, verbs with stems ending in L, M, N, or R do not use the S either. They'll use everything else. So they use the A, or in the case of third person singular, just that E is secondary ending, right? So A plus secondary endings, or if it's third singular, just a secondary ending, right? So everything except the S. So instead of SA, A, right? Except again for the third singular, as you know. And also it gives you a list of some irregulars. Generally, it's just the stem kind of takes an alternate form. But you want to definitely focus on getting the irregulars that they list down, because they're listing the important ones, right? Ones you really got to know. The most important ones, some of the most important ones, let's say. All right, so the beginning of this translation, right, we're just going to do the first 5 lines. As always, I've underlined the verbs in red, and then you see the yellow highlighting. That usually means it's something we haven't covered yet, and it does here as well. So these are all imperfect verbs. So giving you lots of imperfects here at the beginning of this translation. The perfect tense you'll see formally in the next chapter. Right? We'll talk a little bit about them as we go through this, just as a preview. Might as well. We have 5 of them here. Okay. So, ende to limene pleistos men ein homilos, pleistos de toribos. Right. So in the harbor, okay, and the verb here is ein, was. Right. So not este, not is, but ein is was. So this is the imperfect. And the imperfect of to be is going to feature the eta here. Right? And ein here is there was. Right? So there was a pleistos homilos, a very great crowd. Pleistos toribos, a very great uproar. Okay. Wonder why. Pachakose gar espelon hoi anthropoi. It tells us. So gar, 4 sensible cause. Hoi anthropoi, that's my nominative, that's the subject. People, espelon, were hurrying. Pachakose in all directions. Espelon is imperfect. So we have an e augment, but then notice the stem is the same as it is in the present. Then we have a secondary ending. Right? So that'd be the general rule for the imperfect. And we say in the next chapter, an e augment, the present stem, and a secondary ending. Right? So imperfect is continuing action in the past, basically was or were doing something. That's the simplest way of putting it. There's more to it than that, but we're not even seeing it officially yet, so we'll just go with that for now. So people were hurrying, right, in all directions. Hoi mengar nauklaroi tus nautas ekalum Keleontes autus ta portia ekton neon ekperen, hoi de emperoi mega eboon ta portia decomenoi kai eis hamaxas eis perontes. Okay, so again, gar, 4 sensible cause. Hoi nauklaroi, the ship captains, were doing what? Ekalun. This is another imperfect. So we have an e augment, present stem, a secondary ending. But look what happened here. When you have the imperfect, you can have contractions with the secondary ending. So the stem here was KALE because it's E contract. The ending was ON. E and O gave you OU. Notice it's going to happen down here. This is an A contract. Imperfect, right? The A was the end of the stem. The ending is ON. A and O gives us omega. So imperfects can contract. Right? So if you see a E augment and a secondary but contracted ending, then it's imperfect. Right? That's generally going to be true. So so they were calling nautas, the sailors, keleontes, right? A present participle, nominative plural, so it's going with the ship captains. Keleontes, ordering autus, them, to do something, the infinitive. Ekperein, to carry out. Ta portia, the cargo, right? Neuter plural. Ekton neon, out of the ships. the away from genitive. Hoide emperoi, mega eboon, so the merchants eboon here, right? E augment, present stem, secondary ending, and there's a contraction here, so it's definitely imperfect. We're shouting. We're shouting mega loudly. Okay, decominoi modifies the nominative emperoi, so they go together. So they were shouting loudly decominoi, receiving, right? Present middle participle here, receiving taportia, the cargo. And es parentes, another present participle, this one active, right? Carrying it, ace hamaxas, to carts. Right, so merchants were shouting loudly, receiving the cargo and carrying the cargo, ace hamaxas, to carts or to wagons. Okay. Aloi de ta probata excelascentes diaton hodon agon. Okay, so others. Okay, excelascentes. This is one of those irregular ones in that the stem undergoes a significant change here. This is from Elauno, but this first aorist stem is just ELA. Right? Then we have the SA and the rest, right? This, of course, is a participle, right? So a first aorist nominative plural participle, right? From ex elauno, irregular because of the change of the stem. Right? That's all. Okay. So of course there's no e augment here because it's a participle. Got a bad feeling I mistakenly just said there was one, but there's not, right? Ex elaucentes, there's no e augment on that because it's a participle. So others, ex elaucentes. So remember elauno, drive. So this is first aorist. It's taken in the past. I think it'll work better. Having driven out to probata, the flocks. Agon, right? This is the second aorist from. No, I'm sorry. This is imperfect again. Agagon would be aorist, right? The aorist stem kind of reduplicates the vowel and G sound. So this is the second aorist. Man, let's do it again. This is an imperfect. This is an imperfect ivago. So we have a augmentation. Here the A lengthens to an eta, but we have that present stem with AG, but a secondary ending. So this is the imperfect ivago. Right? Agagon would be the aorist, correct? This is imperfect. So the imperfect has the present stem, right? AG, but it's augmented, so the A lengthened to an eta, then a secondary ending, right? That's the imperfect. So having driven out the flocks, we're leading the flocks through the roads, right? So others, having driven out the flocks, were leading them, right? Dia ton hodon, through the roads. Okay. So a busy day at the harbor. All right. So let's go through the rest of this, hopefully more smoothly than I did that last line there. But I think we got it all together. So go over the rest of this and we'll go through it. And until next time.